Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the installment of Scott's Selections every Sunday, November 29th. Before getting today's play of the day, quick recap of what happened yesterday. Instead of just recapping the play of the day for college basketball, we're going to be recapping everything, including the joint video of Scott Steen, as well as the UFC pick that I gave out earlier in the week. We ended up going 3-2 overall for plus 0.66 units. So it's a pretty solid day, made 2/3 of a full unit. We ended up winning the play of the day with Wyoming minus 26.5 and minus 110 on DraftKings. They beat Mississippi Valley by 30 plus. It's really just the gift that keeps on giving at this point, and Wyoming definitely looked good offensively as they ended up scoring 90-plus points. We also then see State in college football at minus 14.5. We ended up losing with the UFC Parisian by knockout as he ended up losing by a decision. That fight was pretty crazy. Bunch of just two heavyweight guys swinging, pretty much putting all their effort into punches. And Parisian connected a couple of times in the first round, but unfortunately, Parker Porter did not go down. We ended up winning with Buffalo and Kent State over 67. At minus 115 on Bet Online. Buffalo scored 70 by themselves, so that was a winner pretty easily. And we also won with TCU minus 23.5 and minus 112 on FanDuel as they ended up destroying Kansas. Les Miles in college football with Kansas definitely is fade material every single time, and we ended up picking up a nice winner there. So 3-2 for 2/3 of a unit. Pretty solid day. But we're going to be looking for more profit here on Sunday. Now, for today's Sunday card, I know that there's a lot of NFL matchups, etc., but I feel like it doesn't really need to be said that one thing that you learn in sports betting is don't fix what isn't broken. And college basketball so far this season has been pretty kind to me and to us. So for that reason, we are going to be sticking with college basketball. And for today's play of the day, we're going to be switching it up a little bit. We're going to be looking at a team total for the first time this season. It's going to be in a matchup between Arkansas Pine Bluff and Iowa State. And the play of the day is going to be on Iowa State team total over 87.5. It's available on FanDuel at minus 120. A time recording of 3:12 a.m. Eastern time. I was hoping to find a little bit less juice. I tried to shop around. DraftKings didn't have the game up. FoxBet didn't have the game up. Bet Online didn't have any team totals for it. But FanDuel stood alone, and they were the only team the only book, I should say, with Iowa State team total. So for that reason, I'm going to take it. Play that once again. Iowa State team total over 87.5 and minus 120 on FanDuel. Couple reasons why I like Iowa State. First of all, it's always a good decision to fade Arkansas Pine Bluff. They allowed at least 92 points in each of their first two games this season. They gave up 99 to Marquette in the opener and 92 to Wisconsin in the second game. Now, Wisconsin plays at one of the slowest paces in the nation, so giving up 92 points to them is definitely concerning because if you base how they form their half-court offense in comparison to how most teams run their normal offense, it's basically the equivalent to giving up 110 points or 105, etc., because Wisconsin really plays that slowly offensively that they were still able to go for 92. So Pine Bluff really can't stay in front of pretty much anybody. And Marquette and Iowa State, if you look at last year's pace numbers, they're pretty similar, especially with Iowa State coach Prom, as he tends to like a pretty up-tempo style of offense, and I do think that should translate well against Pine Bluff, who can't really stay in front of anybody. Now, it is worth mentioning this is Iowa State's first game of the season, and similarly to the reason why I liked Wyoming yesterday, the first game of the season with the very unique offseason usually means a few more minutes for the starters because they're going to need to try to get these starters fully acclimated and build up some chemistry before they have more meaningful meetings or games in the future. So I do expect Iowa State starters to play around 25 minutes, maybe a little bit more, 26, 27, as they will look to get this team fully ready for some more important games in the immediate future. Now, Iowa State did lose some key pieces from last season. They lost Halliburton, of course. They lost Jacobson. But they did bring in a ton of transfers, which should help smooth that transition out. They brought in guard Jalen Coleman-Williams, who averaged 11.1 points per game from DePaul. They brought in forward Javen Johnson, who averaged 10.4 points per game at Troy. And they also brought in guard Tyler Harris, who averaged 8.7 points per game at Memphis. So they did address some positions of need via the transfer market. And I do think that should lead to some immediate success against such a below-average defensive team. Plus, Iowa State ended up having a pretty solid recruiting class. They brought in the 87th ranked overall prospect in Xavier Foster to play center, which should help. They brought in four-star guard Jaden Walker, and they also brought in four-star forward Dudley Blackwell. I'm not exactly sure how big of a role they're going to have immediately, but what I do know is that when this game does get out of hand, Iowa State does, at bare minimum, have a second unit of freshmen who are very talented and should be able to take advantage of whatever matchup that they have against them from Arkansas Pine Bluff. Plus, Iowa State does bring back two of their top three scorers. They bring back guard Rasir Bolton, who averaged 14.7 points per game, and forward Solomon Young, who averaged 9.8 points per game. So they really do have a decent amount of talent offensively in particular, whether it's the transfers, whether it's the returning starters, or whether it's the actual freshmen they brought in. This team has a ton of talent. And if you're looking at Arkansas Pine Bluff and how they've given up at least 92 points per game, and they gave them 92 to Wisconsin, I think Iowa State should break 90. I think they'll probably finish with around 95. So this might be a little bit of a sweat. I do expect Iowa State to blow it open in the first half, probably score somewhere in the realm of 45 to 50, and you might have to sweat it out a little bit late in the second half. But I do think Iowa State will get there, and I think they eventually will reach 90 points. So for that reason, the play of the day here for Sunday, November 29th is going to be on Iowa State team total over 87.5. It's available at -120 on FanDuel. That's been the Thomas Scott Selections. Good luck to all of you and your respective bets today. Bye, everyone.